Alright, time to check on my little Tomodachis. Let's see how they're doing. I want something sweet to eat. I'm bored. I want to watch a YouTube video. Oh, I guess we're in the video. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nina Gabriella, and today we're talking about a Tomodachi Life game, well, a kind of Tomodachi Life game that never made it to the United States. Now, I've actually already seen a couple videos, and I know some other big creators have already touched on this game, but I really wanted to talk about it for myself because Tomodachi Life 2 is actually coming out very soon, so I thought this would be a great idea to get into the Tomodachi Life spirit if you've never played the game. We're going to talk a little bit about how this game compares to the original Tomodachi Life, maybe some of the Miitomo games as well, but we're mainly focusing on this Japanese rendition of this Tomodachi Life game. This game right here is actually based off of, I believe, a J-pop or it might be a K-pop group. I believe it's a J-pop group, and this is an actual group of singers and dancers, which is actually pretty cool. So the fact that they actually made a game that's like Tomodachi Life, it's pretty cool, and honestly it needs an English port. So let's get into the juicy details about it. If you don't know me, my name is Nina Gabriella. You can check out all my handles right here. If you want to see more videos like this, you want to make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so you see more videos like this. And I gotta do a quick shout out of last week's sponsor, Merge Gardens. So if you haven't checked out that game yet, please make sure that you do. Really helps the channel when you check out some of these awesome sponsors. Now, let me also say I'm so sorry for how long this video has taken to get out. I had a whole nother video planned and I probably still will post it, but I honestly got so busy last week with all my birthday stuff. I have a birthday vlog coming out for my YouTube members and my Patreon members, so if you want to see some behind the scenes action, I did some of my fun stuff last weekend. I hope you check it out. But enough this, and that. Let's talk about today's video game review.
海に浮かぶ小さな島。この島ではあなたの友達そっくりなミーたちが思い思いの生活を送っています。友達コレクション。
Picture this, it's 2009 and you are in Japan, and Tomodachi Collection just released. This game trailer that you're looking at right now was Tomodachi Collection, and it released exclusively in Japan for the Nintendo DS. By this time, The Sims is already popping off, so the DS is really trying to make its way into the headlines of finding its own little pathway into the life simulation franchise. In this game, it was a quirky social simulation game where you would use your Miis, which, if you don't know what a Mii is, think of like the Wii, and you had to make your own little character, and basically you would populate a whole apartment building with those little characters that you would create, and you could feed them, give them clothes, watch them awkwardly navigate relationships and crazy crises that might happen on this little island, and it was beautiful. It was fun, it was quirky, it was crazy, and in Japan, this game alone sold over 3 million copies. But the thing about this is it was only exclusive in Japan, so they knew when this game had hit the shelves the way it did, they had to make a worldwide release of something new. So then came Tomodachi Life for the Nintendo 3DS. This game first released in Japan in 2013 and then came out in 2014 worldwide. Now this game is the same thing as Tomodachi Collection. It's just better graphics. They added a couple more things you could do in this game, and overall just, similarly the same amount of fun. In this game, you can get married, have kids, you can star in musical numbers, have your Miis become best friends or enemies, all types of little mini games. Nothing really where you're like winning or losing in the game. It's just your typical life simulation. You log on to your 3DS or your DS every day and just see what your little people are up to. You would make all of your different characters and Miis, and they can have their own little storylines unfold all on the comfort of your 3DS. And since then, it's been over a decade since this game has released, and trust me, this game was a hit as well. So many people really love Tomodachi Life, which is why it is now officially coming out on the Nintendo Switch 2, which I'm super excited. Everyone had seen the trailer. This game looks like it's going to be awesome, especially playing something like this on the Nintendo Switch. But the one thing that we might have missed within some of these Mii games is we did not mention AKB48. This game actually was based off of a Japanese idol group. So AKB48 was created in 2005 by Yasushi Akimoto, a media mogul with one goal to turn idol culture into something intimate and ongoing. The concept, idols you can meet. Instead of these distant pop icons, AKB48 members performed daily at their own theater in Akihabara. So they interacted with fans, they were constantly rotated in and out of the spotlight based on their popularity, and the group just isn't one unit. It's honestly a franchise. There was multiple teams, there was AKB, etc. Hundreds of girls over time, and then they even had spin-off groups like SKE48 and NMB48. You know, there were so many overseas crossovers, even some in Thailand. So, by the early 2000s, AKB48 was basically everywhere. Commercials, anime, magazines, politics, these girls were everywhere. They were topping Oricon charts with millions of single sales, many of which were boosted by fans by buying multiple copies just to vote in the group's Senbatsu elections, which is just a real-life popularity contest determining which girls would star in the next song. So you know what that means. If there's a popular something going on in Japan, you gotta make a game for it. So AKB48+Me was developed by Kadokawa Games and published by Nintendo on December 6, 2012 exclusively in Japan. It was part of a multi-pronged AKB media push coming out alongside with albums, movies, I think there was even a documentary, and even dating simulators. Like there's another game that maybe we'll have to talk about in the future that is also AKB related if we're going to get down this Japanese idol deep dive, which I don't know if we're going to ever get there. Being that this game was exclusively in Japanese, I spent a little bit of time playing this, so I thought I'd talk about it a little bit for you guys today if you are thinking of maybe checking this out yourselves, since we still have a long time until Tomodachi Life Living the Dream actually comes out, so maybe this will scratch your little Tomodachi Life itch. I know lately I've been playing a lot of Tomodachi Life, but this actually was a great just kind of change of pace, and I really want to talk to you guys a lot about it and why this game is just so interesting, especially if you're somebody who is studying Japanese or who's just really interested in fashion culture or like dancing in idol groups. This is definitely a great retro game, and it's crazy to say retro nowadays, but a great game that totally I would be okay with a Western reboot. So let's talk about this game a little bit. In AKB48+Me, this game is all about you, a normal girl becoming an idol and climbing the ranks alongside with the actual members of the J-pop group. So kind of funny, but basically you start off by creating your own idol, essentially your Mii. So I was playing this on an emulation system, so I just had to use the default Miis that they give you. But in this game, you are playing as a research student, which is what AKB trainees are called in real life. So from there, your schedule fills up with training, performances, lessons, fan meetings, photo shoots, media appearances, a whole bunch of stuff you have to do every single week as a research student, preparing that hopefully you will actually be able to develop relationships with the members from AKB48 and get to know them better. Basically, during the game, each task that you do during the week boosts different stats you have. So you have your vocal skills, your dance ability, charisma, your fashion sense, and your overall fan appearances. So the TV appearances is kind of like a quiz show where you could do like wordplay puzzles. I should say there are lots of mini games in this. Like in this whole game, there are so many mini games. You could literally spend hours just playing mini games. There's a whole section for mini games. There's a lot to do. There's also live performances, which is like a rhythm style mechanic that you can really time to the beat with the game. There's also fashion outfits. You can customize your look to match the different members. That kind of gets you some other points in the game. And then there's election events where players can campaign and get voted on based on their personality or their popularity. So as you can see, there is a lot, and that was, trust me, a mouthful. And if you really do like the members of this group, you can totally become best friends with them, or you can even surpass them and get them booted out. So it's kind of a crazy ranking system. Now, I believe AKB48 disbanded or ended their team back in 2023, but I do believe all of their songs, or I should say most of their songs from back in the day, are actually in this game. So if there's anybody who was like a longtime fan who knows this group, you can listen to a lot of their songs. So due to copyright issues, I won't be able to play any of them, but they are in the game. So you got that going for you. So right off the rip, as you can see, this game is very different than your typical life simulation game. This game is very schedule based. There's a lot of fashion going on in this game. It's very, very different than what you'd think of from your typical Tomodachi Life or even like a Miitopia game. But I mean, if you're comparing it to something like Miitopia, you can see kind of where some of these like fun, crazy, quirky elements are coming. It's like you're watching a talent show from the Miitopia series. Just while you're doing a bunch of other stuff as well. So you can kind of see how this kind of came all together, and yeah, it's interesting. Now, granted, this game had come out way before Miitopia did, but you could, I don't know, maybe make an argument that this might have inspired Miitopia in some way. That's why we're not really talking about it in this video, but we can deep dive into it a little in the future when it gets closer to Tomodachi 2 time. And back in the day, if you did have a 3DS that had like Spot Pass on it, you would be able to get special content that actually lined up with real world events that was happening during these AKB events. Like you would get special outfits and campaign updates. So it really made you feel like you're a part of the AKB48 system that they had going on there. And it's crazy because there is a lot of realism that, you know, is centered around this game. Like, another thing I should note is that in real life, AKB48 elections were massive. Fans would buy CDs just to vote for their favorite members. Girl careers were made or just basically crushed based on the results of how these popularity results would go. So in AKB48+Me, the same idea kind of applies. Every seasons of the game, there's like an in-game election. Your popularity, your social moves, your stats determine how well you actually rank. If you win, you become center, which is the lead position in the performances during the game. So let's also talk about performance-wise of how this game really had done. AKB48+Me sold modestly about 5,000 copies in its first launch month. The reviews were very mixed though. Fans of the group loved it because of the novelty of it and its cute interactions. Other people found it really repetitive or kind of limited compared to, you know, maybe just your typical rhythm game, like maybe Project Diva or Love Live or, you know, something like that. But in hindsight, I personally think it's pretty unique. Like, if we're thinking about just the nostalgic elements of this game, and like, granted, I can't say I have nostalgia for it because I didn't really grow up knowing this idol group or anything, but I will say, like, for what it is, like, this was probably so many girls' dreams, you know, being, you know, a girl getting a chance to audition for something like this and getting a chance to become one of the research students and being able to do all of this stuff to prepare for something like joining an idol group. And the crazy thing is that this game is almost kind of like a life sim / a career simulator, because if you really look into idol culture, this really does take idol culture and puts a pretty little pink bow on it. You know, you are doing some scheduling in this game, and that's because this is what idols really have to go through. You are doing dancing every day, you're doing singing every day, and you'll see that more as I'm showing you some footage. This is kind of like the beginning scenes of it, but the more you progress in the game, it does feel like, not that it's getting really difficult in terms of gameplay wise, but if you're really thinking about it career wise of just what it's like to become an idol, it's like, oh my gosh, I could not do this. I just think it's very fun and cute. Like, it really, for one, it makes me look at the Miis in a whole different light. The fact that, you know, I could have been playing this on my 3DS and I could have gotten something as cool as this versus me watching my Miis fail at Wii Sports. I just think that now is such a great time time to talk about a game like this because it really is like a hidden gem. Like games like this really need to be talked about more because this is kind of something that I would like to see in the newest Tomodachi game because, already from just the trailer looking at it, it looks really awesome. But then when you think about what could have been, you look at this game and you see all the potential. Like if you think about the fashion options that were in this game, how many choices you have for your your literal me character. It's like, where was all of these in Wii Resort and in Wii Sports, Like in Tomodachi Life, yeah, we did get some clothing options, but like this, come on, this is next level. I always put it this way with Nintendo, like if they know they could, and if they wanted to, they would. This definitely could have had a Western port. Now, I understand the reasonings for why this probably didn't get a Western port. Obviously the groups have disbanded, their popularity with, young girls has kind of faded away, and over in the Western, we were too focused on like One Direction and whatever else was happening in the early 2000s. So, I get it, but I do think there is potential to have made something like this in today's, or in a more modern way for Westernized players to play. But with that being said, the nostalgic sense of this game is truly super cute. I think I really enjoyed what I've played of it so far, and to be honest, I could see myself continuing to play this. I will say though, like some of the reviews, the game gets to a point where it feels repetitive, and it feels like there's almost not enough for the player to do except for the mini games, because you have to go through this kind of scheduling system for your character to, do its dancing and singing competition every day. You kind of have to wait for the mini games to kind of roll in on its own. So while you're doing that, you're just scheduling stuff for your character to do and make sure her stats are boosted and that she's getting ready for, the next big performance or the next big thing that's happening. So I definitely think it can feel repetitive, but I don't know, I feel like, personally speaking, I was entertained enough to keep playing it. Now, I will say this game is pretty dialogue heavy. Like, I think if you are maybe like a beginner in Japanese, they do give you all of the, the hiragana for kanji. So I will say it's not super hard to read. They use pretty, basic level Japanese, but I will say it is very dialogue heavy. It's not like you're playing a typical life simulation. Like if you were playing Tomodachi Collection, where I feel like you don't necessarily have to even really understand what's going on, you're just kind of playing the game. This, you kind of got to understand what's going on. So that's just a little note I want to throw out there. But otherwise, there is not a lot for me to say I disliked about the game. I think generally speaking, this is a bit of an older game. So, I'm trying to, I'm not saying, this game's awful or anything, but for what it was, I really genuinely liked it. Maybe it's just because I liked all the fashion options. Like the characters just show so much more character in them. Like, I feel like you don't typically see this in like playing just your typical Tomodachi Life game because they kind of preset the characters. Like they don't, but they do. You get to choose the personalities of each Tomodachi character, but I just think that this is kind of neat because you're not building the character. They're coming into you. But I think I also have to add that I might be coming off this with maybe like a bit of a bias, being the fact that I was a person who grew up doing theater and dancing and singing. So being able to play a game where not only is it a cozy kind of life simulation game, but I'm also, my character is able to be an idol and she's dancing and singing and doing fashion and poses and like popularity. Like my dream was to like do something like this. Maybe not necessarily an idol, but like as a theater major, this was like perfect for me. Like this was all wrapped up in one package. So I will say maybe if that is not something you had really grown up doing, or like is something you don't really have interest in it, I could see this game maybe falling off for you. Generally though, I do think the game is cute. I think my biggest gripe is that, yeah, the game can feel a bit slow paced, and some of the mini games are just so like, I don't even know how to describe it, a bit redundant and semi-unnecessary, on top of like the rhythmic dancing thing not being as clean cut as if you are just a person who likes rhythm games. But another thing I also want to add too is that I do actually like the dialogue in this game too. I feel like they have pretty funny little quirky conversations, and they're always, trying to give your character advice or like try to tell you the best way to go about certain stuff. But that's just like a personal thing I wanted to add. I think the dialogue is actually pretty interesting, at least early 2000s. So that's just, a little something I want to add there. But otherwise, this game is just a little life simulation game that's focused more heavily on an idle, I guess, progressive story. So, like I said, the goal of the game is really to just rise through the ranks of becoming an idol of the group and to become a quote unquote top member, just like in the real life AKB48, which will then unlock that center position. So I guess that is just becoming the star of the group. That is the main thing. You want to be a high profile girl so you can do concerts, and that unlocks like special cutscenes. Excuse me, and media events are unlocked, along with kind of like commercials and like drama shoots. You'll also be able to unlock the more you progress throughout the game. So there is kind of like a lot you can do. There's like a soft ending, but the game doesn't really like end. There's no kind of like strict game over type of deal. So it definitely does, it's very life simulation like. Has kind of a Tomodachi feel to it, mixed with just heavy focus on being an idol girl. So I don't know, this is a very acquired taste game. That's what I really have to say about this as we're kind of ending this off here. I think this game, it fits a niche for certain people and people who might be interested in it, but I do think that if you're not either a fashion girly, a dancing girly, a girly who likes dancing, and I probably already said that one, this might not be your game. And I'm saying this for people who follow my content for the fashion content. I don't know if there's as heavy as a focus on fashion as there is to just being an idol girly. So I will say take this recommendation with a grain of salt. I personally liked it, although I'm a little open to like, this just seemed kind of like up my alley, like a cute little cup of tea. I can't say I can recommend this for everybody, but for what it was, I feel like I enjoyed what I played of it. Now, if you can find this game on your emulation station, or, you can get it really cheap on eBay, I'd say go for it. I wouldn't go out of my way spending, new Nintendo Switch 2 money on trying to get this game. But I will say, if you're curious, I'd say check it out. It might not keep your attention the way that Tomodachi Life would keep your attention. I think for me, like, I like Tomodachi Life because I feel like I can log into the game and there's something new to do every day with the characters that I created. This game doesn't have that same sort of feel to me. In this, it feels a bit more rushed, like you have to, get things done, you gotta, hit deadlines and photo shoots and stuff. So definitely a little more on the faster pace end. So I will say, that's kind of, if that's not really your thing, this might not be the game for you. I more look at this as like a definite spin-off of the Tomodachi Life, like kind of how same way I think of like Miitopia when it came out. I don't think of it as like a Tomodachi Life game. I just think of it as a spin-off to what is already out there. With that being said, though, I would love to know your guys' thoughts on maybe seeing some of this stuff in our newest Tomodachi Life game. I'm not sure if they would take any interest from this game, but I do think there's a couple things that I liked about this game that I would really like to see in Tomodachi Life 2. Doing some of these fun little mini games, doing some of this stuff where you're like career building. I don't know how in depth they're going to get or how closely related will we see Tomodachi Life 2 comparing it to like how modern day Sims looks, or even Inzoi. If any of you guys had seen my little stream I had done of that, I'm still playing that game and would love to do a review on it very soon. But that's all I have talking about this. I say I'd give this game a good 6.5 out of 10. And that's just my personal opinions on it. I wouldn't go out of my way to get it. Don't think it's a bad game. Don't think it's a great game either. That's all I have for you guys today. Let me know in the comments what you think about this week's game review, and would you play this game yourself, whether it be in Japanese or in English, or are you just as excited as I am for Tomodachi Life 2, and probably will just wait until that comes out to really get into all of the fun. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and leave a comment of what game we should talk about next. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!